Hello and welcome to my humble kitchen. I am Chef Amy Symington. I'm a nutrition professor, researcher, and chef at a local college here in Toronto. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your day for yourself. Today we're going to be talking about foods to boost your mood, or foods that help to support good mental health. We're looking at whole plant-based foods as much as possible. Aside from focusing on nutrient-dense foods, so fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, whole grains, and good quality protein, there are some specific foods that you can be consuming to help boost your mood or support your good mental health. So first and foremost, many suffer from a wide variety of different mood and mental health changes over their lifetime for a variety of different reasons. And those mood and mental health changes can include things like anxiety, depression, irritability, and oftentimes it can stem from stress, but also stress can be included in that as well. And all of these things, unfortunately, increase inflammation in the body, which subsequently increases chronic diseases like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, cancer, a variety of different chronic diseases. And so of course we want to be consuming an anti-inflammatory diet. That's one thing for sure. Other things that we can be including in our daily diet to reduce that inflammation include things like omega-3 fatty acids, good healthy fats in general. So the monounsaturated fatty acids are great, but the polyunsaturated fatty acids, specifically omega-3 fatty acids, are the ones we want to be including the most of. Okay, and those can be things like, or foods like chia seeds, hemp seeds, walnuts, flax seeds, and you want to make sure that they're ground. So any of those types of foods that have high levels of omega-3 fatty acids. So get those into you as much as possible. B vitamins, so foods that are rich in B vitamins, so whole grains, for example, because the bran, so if you're looking at a grain and the bran is still intact, that's where all the B vitamins are, in addition to antioxidants and fiber, of course, which are good for us as well. But whole grains is a good component of a mood boosting diet. Other things that contain B vitamins, whole grains, nuts, seeds, legumes, those are good ones to include. Other things we want to be making sure we're getting daily, vitamin D. So vitamin D generally we can get from the sun or exposure to the sun, and then our liver and kidneys change it into the usable form of vitamin D. We do live in Canada, or perhaps you live in the UK, or somewhere where there's not a ton of sunlight all year round. And so in that case, we want to be taking a vitamin D supplement. So definitely talk to your healthcare team about how much you should be taking per day. But other sources, include fortified milks, fish, that sort of thing, okay? Other things to include to boost our mood and support or improve our mental health include things like magnesium, so you'll find that in nuts and seeds, avocado, cacao, lots of things that we're going to be using today in some of the recipes that I'm going to be demonstrating. Selenium is another one too, and that can be found in nuts and seeds. Brazil nuts in particular are very high in selenium. If you just have one or two of those, that's about 50 micrograms, which is all we need per day. And iron is another nutrient that you want to make sure that you're including a lot of in your daily diet. And I generally say when we're looking for iron-rich foods, we turn to the beans and the greens. And of course, we want to couple that with a vitamin C-rich food because that helps with the bioavailability of the iron that's present in those foods, okay? In addition to that, also focusing on foods that are rich in pre- and probiotics. So prebiotics would be foods like garlic, chicory root, onions, asparagus, whole grains, things that have kind of an indigestible fiber that help to support the growth of the already existing probiotics in your gastrointestinal system. So in addition to the prebiotics, you also want to be eating probiotics. So probiotics can just be fermented foods like yogurt, miso, tempeh, sauerkraut, any sort of fermented foods that you're into. Get those into you as much as possible. And that beneficial bacteria that's in your system, already existing, but also the ones that you consume too, helps to get things moving in terms of your GI motility, so it keeps things going for you. It also helps with the absorption of vitamins and minerals. It can also help to support our immune function as well. So those are good things to include. And it also has been shown to help support good mental health as well. There's a gut-brain connection that exists that it's good to be consuming pro and prebiotics. those are the things that we're going to be including today. Things we will not be including today, so foods that we want to avoid if we're talking about good mental health, include high consumption of alcohol, high consumption of caffeinated beverages, and high consumption of unhealthy fats. So things like trans fats or an excessive consumption of saturated fats. Those are things we want to be minimizing in our diet. And then of course, if we're talking about foods in general, ultra processed foods are something we want to be consuming less of, and more of the whole plant-based foods as much as we possibly can. Okay, some other tips to help boost your mood and to support good mental health. Obviously, it's very important to get enough sleep and to have good sleeping habits and good sleeping patterns. So that might just, include maybe turning your TV off or your screens off an hour before bed, doing a little meditation, having some tea, whatever works for you, whatever gets you into that sleepy kind of state, do that. And then of course, make sure that you're getting good uninterrupted sleep. Okay. In addition to that, we don't want to be skipping any meals. So make sure that you're eating regularly. They don't necessarily have to be breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but making sure that your blood sugar levels are even throughout the day and they're not skyrocketing and then plummeting, because that can lead to irritability, which can affect our mood. Other things too, if you're planning ahead, that's a good idea. So making sure that you do have lots of food on hand at all times. My husband often jokes that he carries a granola bar in his back pocket for when I'm hungry, just to make sure that my blood sugar levels don't dip. And that's a good tip for anyone, toddlers especially, but for anyone in general. And then make sure you're not skipping meals. If you are planning ahead, then you're hopefully stocking your fridge full of good pre-made meals or snacks, so you're setting yourself up for success. A couple other ones that I would highly recommend, and it's so tricky to do in our busy lives, but sitting down and eating slowly. So the more you chew and let your food kind of digest, the easier it is to digest. So the more you chew, it alleviates some of the work that your digestive tract has to do. Okay, so make sure you're sitting down, eating and chewing a lot, making sure your food is well chewed before swallowing. And if you can eat with a friend or two, studies have shown that that also helps to boost your mood and decrease the risk of things like depression, anxiety, irritability. Okay, so that's kind of the things we want to be focusing on today when we're talking about mood boosting foods, and I'll be incorporating them into each of the recipes on the menu today. So that was our fact component, and now we're on to the fun component. On the menu today, we're going to be making a couple of my absolute favorite recipes, which are found in the Long Table Cookbook. So plant-based recipes for optimal health. This is my cookbook. It's a collaboration between George Brown College, myself, Gilda's Club Greater Toronto, and Shirk. And so all of the foods that we focus on in the cookbook are anti-inflammatory. So they're helping us combat chronic disease. So on the menu, first and foremost, a sweet potato and tahini soup with a little bit of cilantro, hot sauce, and sesame seed garnish. Then we're going to be working on this delicious, one of my most favorite salads. It's a fennel apple salad with an orange vinaigrette dressing, toasted walnuts on top. And then for dessert, we'll be making a chocolate, kind of a caramel chocolate sauce that we're going to be dipping some fruit in, topped with, you guessed it, some toasted nuts. So you can see there's a lot of healthy fats that we're including in today's menu. Okay, let's get to it. Starting with the soup. Okay, sweet potato and tahini soup with sesame seeds and cilantro. So we'll get our pan started here. Just a medium to large stock pot on medium to high temperature. So we'll get that started. While that's heating up, I'm going to dice onions. So we need about a cup of onions. One big one or two small ones will do. And if you know me, you know that I like to save all of my onion peels, celery ends, carrot ends, and skins for stock. Okay, so it saves on money, but it also makes a nutrient-dense broth that you can add to your soups, stews, curries, that sort of thing. Great, and it's low sodium, obviously. Okay, so cut it in half, cut the end off. I've left the root intact so that I'm able to then make slits without cutting through the root, cutting horizontally, and then running my knife through it. Do the same thing to this half. So, onions are a good source of allium vegetables, which are a functional food, which help reduce inflammation in the body. So get those into you. Also, they just add a wonderful flavor and are a great base to any soups and stews. Great. So make sure you're saving all that. And what I do when I'm making my stock, so I'll save onions, carrots, celery, thyme stems, parsley stems, and then I'll put it into a stock pot with water. I'll add a bay leaf, and then I'll bring to a boil, and then set to simmer, and then let it simmer for about half an hour to 45 minutes, and then I strain it, and then Bob's your uncle. You have a delicious homemade stock that didn't cost you anything and is nutrient dense. You can also add things like tomato ends. You really just don't want to add any sort of leafy greens that will make it bitter. And it depends on the type of soup that you're making too, in terms of the flavors. Okay, great. How are we doing here? Is this still going? We're heating up there. Okay, so I'm going to put in about 2 teaspoons of grapeseed oil. I use grapeseed oil. It's a monounsaturated fatty acid, so we're again using healthy fats. I use grapeseed oil because it's a neutral flavor, but also it has a high smoke point, meaning that it doesn't become carcinogenic at high temperatures. So put that in. You could use peanut oil, you could use coconut oil, you could use avocado oil. Sesame oil would work in this as well, and those all have a higher smoke point. Okay. So I generally say if your food has started to, or your oil has started to smoke, start again. Just start again. Dump it out, start it again. Maybe start at a lower temperature. That nice sizzle. Oof, my eyes are watering too. Good tricks for that, making sure that your knife is clean, so you could run it under cold water. You can wear goggles, glasses, soaking the onion if it's really particularly potent, soaking it in cold water beforehand. Those are all tips to combat the crying onion effect. Okay, so that going, you can hear the sizzle. Okay, cool. While that's going, I'm going to get the garlic started here. So garlic, also an aluminum vegetable. It also contains allicin, which is a powerful antioxidant, a great component of an anti-inflammatory diet. So get that into you as much as possible. And it also adds lots and lots of flavor too. So I'm going to add about 4 cloves. You could add more, you could add less. I'll leave it up to you. Again, the recipes are in the Long Table Cookbook, so if you're one to use a recipe, it's there, it's been tried and tested. All of the recipes too, they have options of either making 6 servings or 24 servings. So if you were doing this for a community event or make ahead meals, this soup in particular freezes very well. You could do that, you could make extra. I recommend making extra. And then just keeping it on hand so that you can have something, quick to grab that's healthy. And we are going to mince our garlic. You could use a rasp or a microplane here to puree it if you'd like. It smells so good. Oh my goodness. Okay, put that in. Flavor country, as we call it in our house. Okay, great. And you just want the onions and garlic to become translucent. You don't want them to brown too much. So that's good there. Now we're going to add our spices. So the spices are the star in this recipe. They add so much flavor and depth to it. Okay, so we've got a little bit of red chili. If you had an actual red chili, you could chop that up and throw it in. I'm just going to use dried chilies. And depending on how spicy you like it, you can add as little or as much as you like. I just added about a half teaspoon there. Cumin, about a tablespoon. Goes so nicely with sweet potatoes. Coriander, ground coriander, about a tablespoon. And then paprika, about a tablespoon. Cool, and we'll mix those out. And we're just going to kind of toast the spices. So spices are a great way to add flavor without added fat, salt, or sugar, unhealthy fat in particular, and they add, again, so much depth to the dish. So when we're making soups and stews and stocks or curries, we want to make sure that we're building flavor. So we had our oil, we had our onions, we had our garlic, now we're adding in our spices. So slowly building those kind of layers of flavor, adding depth to the overall recipe. I wish you could smell it. It smells so great. Okay, we've got those in there. Next, we're gonna add our sweet potatoes. So that's about 5 cups of diced sweet potato. In the recipe, actually, in the Long Table Cookbook, it calls for the sweet potatoes to be peeled. I am not peeling them, I'm leaving the skins on. It doesn't make necessarily for as smooth of a soup, but those extra skins add additional fiber, which is something we really want to be getting into our diet. That helps to regulate our blood sugar levels. It also helps to decrease inflammation in the body and has been shown to help with preventing chronic disease, but also chronic disease management as well. So fiber, fiber, fiber is your friend, and all whole plant-based foods have tons of fiber in them. Great. So stir that up. We've got our spices toasted, you know, because you can smell it. You don't want them to burn, however. Okay, so we've got that, and now we're gonna add in our stock. So I made this stock ahead of time, again, using all those things that I've mentioned before, and then I strained it, and you can see the beautiful kind of amber color. I'll add that in. Cool, and I'll give you a little sneak peek so you can see what I'm doing here. We're gonna be pureeing this soup at the end, so the skins will get pureed a little bit, but it still won't be as smooth as if we removed them. But I don't mind. Take it. I'll take that extra fiber. So we're going to bring this to a simmer along with our coconut milk. So this is what adds a creamy, rich depth to the soup. So we'll add that in. And this one was a light. If you want to go full fat, that's cool. Add that in there. And then last but not least, in terms of our main ingredients, we're going to be adding tahini. So tahini, oh my goodness, so many health benefits to tahini and so many nutrients that are present in it. It's a healthy fat, of course. It contains magnesium, calcium. It's a good component of an anti-inflammatory diet. So we'll toss those in as well, and it adds like a nice, again, richness too. So this dish is all about healthy fats. Right? Particularly when we're talking about boosting our moods, we really want to be focusing on those healthy fats as much as possible. So the apple fennel salad with an orange vinaigrette is up next. So anytime I'm making a dressing, I like to do it in a mason jar so that it's easy to store, one, but also it's easy to shake, it's easy to mix up, so we're not, getting it everywhere or getting it all over yourself, because oil, as we know, does not come out. Okay, so in terms of the dressing ingredients, we've got 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, which has been shown to help with digestion. Any sort of vinegars help with digestion, but they also help with providing an oomph of flavor, again, without added fat, salt, or sugar. And next up, I've got about 1.5 tablespoons of grapeseed oil. You could use olive oil if you wanted to. I like olive oil for dressings more than others, but grapeseed oil is a great neutral flavor as well. Okay, and then I have about 1 tablespoon and a half of maple syrup for a little bit of sweetness. Great. Okay, next up, we're going to be adding half an orange. Okay, depending on how big your orange is or how juicy it is, these ones are pretty juicy. I'm rolling it on the table to start to get those juices flowing. And we'll cut that in half. And then if you have a kind of a reamer, use that, or you could use a spoon, whichever you prefer. Great. One thing too about citrus, you want to make sure that you're using all of it as much as possible. So I like to zest it even if I'm not using all of the zest. So make sure there's no seeds, perfect. And a lot of the flavor is found in the zest, along with some beneficial oils too. Great, so we'll pop that in. Amazing. Lovely. Okay. Set that aside. Next up, we are going to add some garlic. So I've got a couple cloves here. Again, depending on how garlicky you like it. I love it. So we're going to add 2. And I am going to use my rasp this time to puree it into the dressing. There's one, saving the skins. course, we want to make sure that they're clean before you save them and use them in stock. Perfect, okay. Great, so again, overall, we're focusing on plant-based foods as much as possible because they contain high levels of nutrient. We want to make sure that every mouthful matters, particularly when we're talking about foods to boost our mood or for supporting our mental health. Okay, great, got that in there. Next up, we're going to add about a half teaspoon of salt. We're going to add a little bit of ginger. So my favorite trick for ginger, for preparing ginger, you could use dried if you wanted to add that in there. I love the taste of fresh. Ginger contains a powerful antioxidant called gingerol, which again is a good component of an anti-inflammatory diet. Okay, so I cut off a little knob and then I'm just gonna peel it with my spoon. So instead of using your knife, I'm using a spoon because you take away less of the actual usable ginger. Yum. And you could use those peels for tea. Boil them with some hot water, squirt a lemon. You could also put them into stock if, say, you were making like pho or something, a soup that would go well with ginger. And so I won't use it all. I'm just going to cut this little knob off here. I won't use it all. Okay, perfect. Great. Okay, and then there. Okay, we're going to set the dressing aside. Okay, great. So you can use any leafy greens that you happen to have on hand. Today I have spinach on hand. Arugula would be really nice. Kale would be a good option. Swiss chard, whatever you prefer. Just, romaine lettuce would work as well. So about 5 to 6 cups of dark leafy greens kind of packed into the cup. Set that aside. And then fennel. So fennel is kind of what makes the salad kind of a fresh, crisp salad. Such a nice addition to any salads, really. This is a salad you could probably eat all year and just kind of alter the vegetables as you see fit in terms of the seasons. So you can see that I just cut the fennel in half. So cut that in half, and then we're just going to do a little triangle to cut the root out. Fennel you could use again in stock, but it just completely depends on what you're using it for. What kind of soup. Alright, so fresh. Yum. Okay. And then we're just doing very thin slices. You could even grate it if you really wanted to. Food processors oftentimes have that grating attachment that make your life so much easier. Oh my gosh, it smells so fresh and little hints of licorice, which is wonderful. Okay, we'll add that in. That's such a nice juxtaposition in terms of color to the dark leafy greens too. Okay, great. Put that out of the way. Okay, next up we're going to add a red beet. You could use golden beets. Beets are really rich in anthocyanins, which again are a good component of an anti-inflammatory diet, which helps to support good mental health. I'm just going to do, you could grate this as well, I'm just going to do kind of matchsticks. And again, I'm leaving the skins on for that extra fiber. You can wear gloves for this if you'd like, if you're not into making your hands red, but that red is telling you that the food is really rich in antioxidants. So I always recommend eating a red fruit or vegetable every day, an orange fruit or vegetable every day, definitely leafy greens, and then definitely cruciferous vegetables. So things like cauliflower, broccoli, kale. Those are good ones to include in your daily diet. Adds a nice pop of color. Next up, I have a Granny Smith apple to kind of add a little bit of sourness to it. Okay. And again, leaving the skins on. And I'm going to dice the apples. I prefer the sourness of the Granny Smith, but you could use whatever you happen to have on hand. And I'm going to add some of the oranges too. You don't have to add the oranges. I'm just going to cut a few for color. Adds such a nice, bright, beautiful color. Squeeze the rest of the juice in there. You don't want to waste any of it. And then last but not least, we're adding our omega-3 rich walnuts. So I've toasted these ahead of time. I'm just going to go through them with a knife. And to toast nuts, you can just get a pan on top of your stove, medium heat. Wait till it's completely heated, then add the nuts, and you're going to want to watch and make sure that they don't burn, because as soon as you turn away, that's when it gets too hot. So make sure that you're watching them and kind of stirring them and flipping them as they're heating up. Okay. And then I saved a little bit of the fronds from the fennel, and I'm going to put that on top as a garnish. Try to utilize every little piece of the ingredients. Trying not to waste anything. Dill would be also a nice addition to this salad as well. Okay. And we are going to shake this up. This is a fun part. You could ask your toddler or husband or partner that maybe isn't as kitchen savvy to do. Shake, 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 shake. Okay, great. And then we're just going to drizzle that on. Oh my gosh. Now, if you weren't eating this salad right away, you could put the dressing on the side and set it aside in the fridge, cover your salad ingredients, and then just top it right before. Okay. So there you have it, my favorite salad. Isn't that beautiful? Awesome. Okay, cool. We'll set that over here beside my cookbook. And next up, we're gonna do our dessert. Okay, so it's a maple chocolate sauce with roasted nuts over top of fruit. And so today I've chose Granny Smith apples. Okay, but before we do that, we're just gonna check on our soup here. Okay. I think one of these, see if they're tender. Not quite yet. Great. So I'm going to move this over because I'm going to use the burner for the chocolate sauce, but I'll put this on my stove over here. Okay, so medium pot, medium size, medium to small, and we want a medium heat. We don't want it to be too hot because we don't want to burn the sauce. Okay. Again, we are making sure we're starting with a clear space. Okay, so in terms of ingredients, this is a very simple chocolate sauce. And as I mentioned, cacao or cocoa powder contains high levels of magnesium, which is a great component of mood boosting and mental health supporting diet. So we're getting that into us. And then we've got some good healthy fats found in the nuts. So when we're topping the nuts or garnishing the fruit, I'm going to be using walnuts and pistachios. Whatever you happen to have on hand is great. Obviously, the walnuts are high in omega-3 fatty acids, so that's a good component there. Make sure this heats up here. And we're going to be using coconut oil. So it's about a 1/4 cup coconut oil. We're going to wait till that completely melts before we whisk in the other ingredients. Okay, while that's going, I'm going to slice my apple. you can use whatever fruit is seasonal. Oranges would be nice as well. This is a great snack for kids too. It's kid approved, adult approved as well. So nice too, if you didn't want to actually drizzle it on, you could just have a little bowl in the center and people could dip their own fruit. A great snack option. Okay, so my coconut oil is almost completely melted. Just perfect timing. Beautiful. Lovely. Okay, great. Perfect. That's there. We're going to whisk in our cocoa powder. Now this heats up very fast. So you want to make sure that the cocoa powder or the cacao powder, whichever you're using, both are fine. Doesn't burn. Okay, so we're heating it through. And then next we're going to drizzle in our maple syrup. So about a 1/4 cup. And then about a teaspoon of vanilla. Yum. Okay. Now we're going to bring this kind of to a simmer. You can see it thickening. I'll show you. So good. And as soon as it starts to thicken, we take it off the heat. We take it off the heat and we turn it off. Perfect. Wonderful. And you could dip if you wanted to. Just like that. Or you can use a spoon and just drizzle. Drizzling gets the job done faster. Kind of looks a little rustic. Oh my goodness, guys. This is so good. I could just drink this. So it's easy to remember a 1/4 cup of each of the ingredients and then a teaspoon of vanilla at the end. So again, cocoa, great component of an anti-inflammatory diet, contains high levels of polyphenols. Okay, cool. Now, yum, oh my gosh. We're gonna add our nuts. I think I'm feeling the pistachios right now, so we'll add those on. We've got walnuts on our salad. We'll mix it up. You could use really any sort of garnish you wanted. Coconut flakes would be beautiful. Whatever you have. Pomegranate seeds you can toss in there too. And then we'll just sprinkle. Oh my gosh. The green, oh so nice. Green on green. Beautiful. Okay, check those out. Yum. Great little snack. Okay, cool. So next up, we're going to clear our space to get ready to garnish for our soup and actually to blend our soup as well. I'll show you how to safely blend. Okay, so I am using a hand immersion blender, and you can get them pretty much at any kitchen store, $25 to $30, and they are so great and handy, and also really safe, a much safer method of blending soup, or how to blend soup without using a blender. Because blenders, sometimes the transferring of the hot liquid to the blender and then back and forth can be kind of dangerous in the actual blending of it. So it's always nice to have hand immersion on hand, so to speak, to blend things safely. Okay. You can make smoothies with these as well if you say don't have the room for a blender. Putting smoothies into, or the ingredients into a cup and then blending it is a handy dandy tool. Okay, we're gonna check out our soup here. Oh my goodness, it smells so good. puree this. Okay, finishing touches for the soup. We've got about a half teaspoon of salt. And cover this so I'm not getting splashed here. One thing with thick soups, when they start to boil, sometimes they will leap out of the dish or leap out of the pot, and so it's a good idea to cover it. I've now turned the temperature off so it will come down, so the lid is kind of acting as a protector. Okay. Alright, so roll, 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 get those juices flowing. Cut in half here. You could also serve this with a wedge of lime too. Okay, calm down a little bit. And we're gonna squeeze. You could add the zest into this before pureeing. Okay, stir that in. Here we go. This is my favorite soup of all time. Okay. So creamy, oh my gosh. Very energy dense. We're utilizing those orange vegetables, we're utilizing those healthy fats. Beautiful. Lovely. Okay, so you could add a little bit of hot sauce to this as well if you liked. A big heaping handful of cilantro, a sprinkle of sesame seeds, and we're all done. And I think I will add a little bit of hot sauce. I'm just using a bit of sriracha. Beautiful. Okay, and there you have it. 3 easy recipes to help you boost your mood or support your mental health. Very easy to make ahead of time. Again, having our salad dressing on the side, or keeping the cilantro off of the soup until you're ready to serve. Freezer friendly, make ahead friendly, kid friendly. I hope you enjoyed this little demonstration today and some of those nutrition facts you'll keep in your back pocket. But in the meantime, stay well and be kind to yourself and others. Thanks.